The 7 steps outlined here are taken from the 6th edition of the popular Cracking the Coding interview book, which teaches you how to enhance your coding interview skills. This highly respected book is monstrously large and frightening, with 17 hefty chapters of arduous interviewing questions as well as supplementary suggestions on how to behave during interviews, consider big O notation, and handle offers and rejections. Step 1. Put your skills to the test on paper. Learning to code without using autocomplete is a necessary skill for passing a coding interview. IDs, Google searches, and autocomplete have spoiled us. You may have written a command hundreds or even thousands of times, but you can't remember it when you're in front of a plain text editor, a piece of paper, or a whiteboard. When you're working on a whiteboard, you don't have any mental support. Step 2. Participate in mock interviews. You wouldn't deliver a speech without first practicing, and you shouldn't go into a coding interview without doing the same unless you consider the interview itself practice. This is a critical stage towards breaking the code interview, so don't skip it. Step 3. Pay close attention to every detail. Many candidates will accurately hear the problem. However, 5 minutes into constructing an algorithm, some of the problem's most important elements have been forgotten. They've now reached a point where they can't address the problem optimally. If you're stuck, consider whether you've used all of the information in the problem. Step 4. Create a specific and large enough example. What constitutes a poor example? They're too small and don't adequately illustrate a common scenario for the problem. It's also likely that you'll draw an example that turns out to be incorrect later in a technical interview. However, everything may be tweaked. Return to your example and make the necessary changes. Step 5. Create an algorithm and test it. It's fine to be a little chaotic while building your first algorithm as long as you show that you're thinking it through. You must build your approach based on your example before writing code in your coding interview. Look for any information that hasn't been used yet. Was it mentioned in your interview that the array was sorted? What can you do with that knowledge? Make a new example. Seeing a different case might sometimes clear your mind or help you discover a pattern in the problem. Make use of a hash table. Hash tables are frequently used in interview questions and should be considered. Step 6. Create a code that is both beautiful and functional. Beautiful code is modular, includes error checks, makes use of other classes and structures, and has descriptive variable names. You must know your algorithm well in order to write beautiful code during your mock or actual coding interview. You can take a moment to design the code and make sure you understand all of the procedures well. Understand the factors as well as when and where they will change. You'll have a hard time coding something if you don't know what you're doing. Step 7. Put your code to the test. You're not done until you've tried your hardest to write beautiful code. The final stage is to use your brain power to run the code and debug the errors. Conclusion. Cracking the code interview is difficult, but it is doable. Do you feel prepared to break the code interview now that you've completed these 7 steps and learned how to prepare for a programming interview, as well as gained insight into one of the top books for software developers?